She walked away thinking you'd crumble, that you'd check her story, text her back, wait for her breadcrumbs. But what she didn't expect was this. You turned your back too. Not in rage, not in pain, but in power. And now she doesn't just remember you, she replays you. She doesn't miss the old you. She obsesses over the man you became without her. Comment, unforgettable now. If you're done begging to be remembered and ready to be etched into her psyche for life. This video is not about games. About power, internal, quiet, earned. We're talking about stoicism, discipline, presence, about the man who doesn't chase because he builds something worth being chased for. Most men suffer in silence after a breakup, waiting to be remembered while slowly forgetting themselves. That ends today. Before we dive into the brutal truths, I've created something rare. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint. Ebook for men. It's not for everyone. It's for the few men who are ready to stop reacting and start leading. This isn't some surface-level dating gimmick. It's philosophy. It's principles. The blueprint for emotional control, relationships, and self-respect. It's now available to the public, but only for a short time. This knowledge will not remain open forever. If you're ready to live above the chaos, comment Stoic Blueprint right now and claim your copy before it's gone. If you feel like you gave everything and got crumbs in return, this is your moment. We're diving deep into the exact traits and ways that make her never forget you. Not for a week, not until she finds someone else, but for the rest of her life. More than that, this is how you never forget who you are. Number 1, silence. Alone isn't enough. You think if you just go quiet, she'll come running. You think if you vanish from her phone screen, she'll start typing your name again. That if you stop reaching out, she'll finally realize your worth. But understand this, disappearing is only half the job. She doesn't remember you because you stop talking. She remembers you when everything about your life starts to reflect what you refuse to become when she was in it, when your body transforms because the pain became fuel, when your days fill with plans, not pain, when your nights are quiet, not from emptiness but because you're too focused on building something real. This is when she feels your absence, not because you were quiet but because the man she knew no longer exists. She looks back and sees a memory, but you're no longer a memory. You're a force. You're a fire that's now out of reach. She doesn't remember the texts or the jokes or the little things you did to make her smile. She remembers the shift. She remembers when you stopped being available, not because you were playing games but because your life became too real to be part of hers. She watches from afar now, not because she's proud of you, but because she's afraid to admit she gave up on someone who finally figured it out. She didn't expect you to rise. She expected you to break, to spiral, to sit by the phone and hope. But when you didn't, when you rose instead of reached, that's when the silence changed. It became weight. Became a question in her mind every night before she falls asleep. What if he really moved on? What if I was wrong? That's what haunts her. Not the lack of contact, but the undeniable growth. That's the sound that keeps her up. Noise isn't your voice. It's your evolution. And the truth is, you were never really gone. You just became someone she no longer has access to. That's the kind of presence no one forgets. But you must choose what this quiet means. You must decide what kind of man emerges from it. If you sit in the dark hoping she notices, you become a shadow. But if you walk into the light and rebuild from the ground up, you become something she can't unsee. More than that, you become someone who doesn't care if she does. This is not about hurting her. This is about finally respecting yourself. This is about turning the pain into presence, the hurt into hunger, the longing into legacy. She might come back or she might not. But either way, when you use this season to evolve, she'll remember you. Not because you tried to be remembered, but because you became unforgettable. There is no begging in strength, no waiting in purpose. You don't check your phone for a message. You check your progress for evidence. Because the only question you should be asking isn't will she come back, but am I someone she can no longer reach? And when the answer is yes, that's when you've won. That's when the silence isn't absence. It's a declaration. That's when your name becomes more than a memory. It becomes the mark she can never erase. And you didn't need to say a word to do it. Number 2, why she actually left. Didn't walk away because you made one mistake. She didn't vanish because of that one argument or the day you forgot her birthday. Those are just surface level excuses. She left because you stopped being the man she looked up to. Somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing the leader, the visionary, the grounded force that made her feel safe. And she started seeing a man who waited for direction, validation, permission. You didn't fall short because you weren't enough. You fell short because you made her your everything while forgetting you were something. And that imbalance, when she became your focus instead of your addition, was the beginning of the end. She didn't leave because you failed to love her. She left because you stopped loving the man you were becoming. You stopped evolving. You stopped chasing your mission. You turned your attention from your path and gave it all to her. And that, no matter how romantic it sounds, is not what she truly wanted. She wanted to follow a man who had somewhere to go. And when you turned around and made her the destination, you killed the journey. Women don't leave ambition. They leave indecision. They leave weakness, disguised as sweetness. They leave comfort when it comes without strength. They leave softness when it no longer has structure. You thought being kind was enough. You thought being available was the answer. But what she craved wasn't your compliment. It was your certainty. She wanted to feel like you knew where you were going, and that if she followed, she'd become more because of it. But when she saw you hesitate, when you started asking her what she wanted instead of deciding what you wanted and inviting her along, that's when she knew. That's when the dynamic shifted. And this isn't to say she's innocent. Maybe she tested you. Maybe she disrespected you. Maybe she stopped showing up in the way she used to, but ask yourself, when did that start? Was it when you let things slide to keep the peace? Was it when you started seeking her approval instead of keeping your standards? Was it when you gave her the power to dictate the pace of the relationship, thinking that if you just did everything right, she'd stay? That not leadership. That's desperation, dressed up as devotion. And she felt it. And once she did, she couldn't unfeel. That's when the attraction dies. That's when admiration turns into obligation. That's when she starts pulling away. Not because she doesn't care, but because she no longer sees a man worth following. And the only way back from that isn't through texts or flowers or long messages explaining how much you love her. It's through action, through transformation, through becoming the man she thought you were when she met you, and more. Not for her, but for yourself. Because the moment she left wasn't when she walked out the door. Was when you stopped walking through your own. So start again. Not to win her back, but to win back your edge. Get your body in order. Get your money in order. Get your values in order. Stop giving women the pen to write your story. She left because you handed her the script. Take it back. Write the next chapter so boldly, so powerfully, so unapologetically, that she won't just remember you. She'll realize she never really knew you at all. And that's when the regret begins. That's when the questions start. But by then, you won't need the answers because you'll be too busy becoming the man you were always meant to be. Number 3, detach. Don't react when you see her face pop up on your feed. Again, dressed differently, talking to someone new, acting like she's completely fine without you. Your instinct might scream to act, to comment, to text, to remind her who you are. But that's not power. That's panic, dressed as passion. And that's exactly what she expects. She expects the emotional spiral, the weak reach out, the inevitable late night, I miss you, because she's seen it before. Not just from you, but from every man who didn't understand what it meant to truly detach. Real detachment isn't pretending to not care. It's becoming so aligned with your future that you no longer have space in your mind to react to her past. You don't detach by blocking. You detach by building. You don't detach by ignoring her stories. You detach by rewriting your own. And if you really think about it, every time you react, every time you fall into the trap of responding to her bait, whether it's her showing off, being seen with someone else, or acting brand new, you give away a little more of the power you're supposed to be reclaiming. She's not testing your feelings. She's testing your evolution. Can you see her move on? And instead of crumbling, go harder? Can you hear about her new life and still remain loyal to the version of you that's being shaped through the pressure? That's the measure. That detachment. Because reacting means you're still emotionally invested in the outcome she controls. Detaching means you've transferred that investment into outcomes only you control. Your discipline, your growth, your vision. And the truth is, she doesn't want you to detach. Not really. Because the moment you stop reacting, she starts wondering. When you vanish, not with bitterness, but with progress, you force a reflection that no confrontation ever could. You take away the validation she was counting on and replace it with questions that echo. Why isn't he reaching out? Why does he look better? Why is his life moving faster without me than it did with me? These are the thoughts that don't just replay, they embed. Not because you said anything, but because you didn't. Because you didn't fight to prove your still worth. You proved it by making yourself unreachable. But detachment isn't numbness. It's focus. It's not coldness. It's clarity. You detach so you can feel again. But this time, not for her, for you. You were drained. You were distracted. You were living in reaction. Now you're living in intention. Every step you take from here forward must be a declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace can no longer be interrupted by someone who walked away from them in the first place. Your energy is not a donation. Your focus is not for rent. When you truly detach, you don't just stop reacting. You stop caring whether she sees you or not, because now you see yourself, and that vision is far too powerful to be derailed by a woman who couldn't handle the man you were becoming. Remember, she walked away from the old you. Make sure the new you is someone she'd never have the chance to meet. That is detachment. Not silence, not blocking, but becoming too dialed in to turn around. That's the kind of distance that doesn't just separate people. It rewrites the entire dynamic. And it only begins when you finally stop reacting and start rising. Number 4, the power of presence in absence. There's a reason she still checks your profile. A reason she brings up your name months later. A reason your name comes up in her conversations even when she's pretending to have moved on. It's not because you texted. It's not because you begged. It's because you left a presence so powerful it outlasted your physical proximity. You see, most men think being around is how you get remembered. They try harder. They show up more. They send gifts, write notes, do everything to stay visible. But the real power, it's what lingers when you're gone. The way you carried yourself, the way you made her feel, not with compliments, but with confidence. Not with flowers, but with the way you held your frame, even when things got uncomfortable, the way you challenged her to grow, made her uncomfortable in the best way, not by controlling her, but by standing firmly in your own path. And when you're gone, it's not the jokes she remembers, it's the standard. The energy that can't be mimicked. Because while the next guy might say the same things, he doesn't say them the same way. Because you had direction, you had fire, you had purpose, and now she feels the void. Not because you stop talking, but because your energy is irreplaceable. That's presence. And it doesn't fade. It lingers. It haunts. It makes every comparison fall short. But here's the secret. Your presence only becomes powerful when it's rooted in progress. If you disappear and stay the same, you become a memory. But if you disappear and evolve, you become a ghost that speaks without words. Every update she sees is a reminder. Every improvement you make is an echo of who you were and who you're becoming. And it makes her question. It makes her remember not just the good times, but what she gave up, the potential she didn't wait for, the vision she didn't believe in. And those realizations don't come when you talk. They come in your absence. When her reality falls short of what she had with you, not because you were perfect, but because you were progressing. Presence isn't loud, it's felt. It's what makes her pause before replying to someone new. It's what makes her compare every interaction to the way you made her think, grow, doubt herself, in a way that made her better. And now that you're gone, she realizes most men want her attention, but very few ever challenged her to become more. And you didn't do it for her. You did it because you were already moving that way. She was just lucky enough to walk beside it for a while. That's the kind of presence that can't be replaced.